This is a Celo Beats production.
Hello dear viewers, my name is Nino and you're watching Nino's product reviews. Today we're going to take a look at the Umi Rome smartphone coming straight from China. And the interesting thing about this smartphone is the build quality and the specs. So let's start with the specs. What we have in here is an ARM Cortex-A53 octa-core processor clocking at 1.3 GHz per core, an ARM Mali 2 720 GPU, whopping 3 GB of RAM, 16 GB of storage, which can be expanded via microSD card to up to 64 GB additionally. Then we have a 5.5-inch AMOLED 720p display, battery which has 2500 milliamperes. It's a lithium polymer battery, and then we have an Android 5.1 Lollipop installed in here. The cameras: back camera 13 megapixel interpolated, front camera 2 megapixels with dual front flash, which is pretty impressive. But about the interpolated back camera, some of you will be wondering what that means. Well, interpolated means that it essentially is an 8 megapixel camera, and there's a special software which takes the picture and then adds pixels to expand it. So that's pretty nice, and it works really well, surprisingly well. It is not quite the same as if we had a pure 13 megapixel camera, but it still is very good. I'm going to move further down. We have obviously Bluetooth 4.0, GPS, but what we do not have here is NFC. So I'm going to show you some of the interesting features of this phone because I want to start on a high note, and this phone does come with some pretty impressive features which we've seen on some other phones, but why not? First, we have gesture settings, and as you can see, I've just selected the gallery. This is the gesture that is supported. You can basically swipe above the screen and stuff is going to change. In this case, with the gallery, here's some pictures that Sarah took, and I'm just gonna move my hand and they're gonna switch. Now, what I've noticed is that it really doesn't matter in which direction I move my hand, the pictures will swipe in the same direction. Not very useful function for me personally, but some people might find usefulness. The next one is actually something that I do like and I find quite useful. We have these special smart wake features which allow us to use several things, several gestures, and draw on the screen when it's turned off, which will then wake up the screen and start specific applications or just unlock it. Let me show you this one. This is basically unlock and wake up, and you saw that works really well. All of them really work. Double tap to just wake up but not unlock. We have another feature where we can type C for camera, and that's the one I'm going to show you here right now. So these work really well. There are several more, but since I'm on the camera, I decided I'm gonna jump the horse and show you the camera a little bit. Now the camera itself is, as I've mentioned, interpolated 13 megapixel in the back. Sorry, but you get really nice pictures with it, and it can work pretty well. It has several features, and it does even some okay pictures in low light. Now I had a really bad day here when I took it. Was really dim, and I took this picture, and the next picture was also fairly dark, although I was in a plane. But as you can see, it is beautiful. The colors are pretty nice, and here I've uploaded a small video made with the camera just to give you a feeling of how the camera performs when you're taking videos. I find it to be quite satisfying. Okay, so next up I want to show you how the display actually performs, and I'll tell you a few things about it. So the display is very nice. You can see vibrant colors, excellent viewing angles. They say it's an AMOLED screen. It is not. Now, I make this claim based on several things. I've seen a teardown of it and there were light diodes inside. Now, this is not something you see in an AMOLED screen because AMOLEDs don't use additional light. The black color seems to be a bit brighter than usually. AMOLED screen just create a really dense, thick black color, which is not the case. That is not to say that this screen isn't excellent. I really like it, but an AMOLED screen, it is not. Now, as you saw, though, the picture is really wonderful, so that you won't suffer from that, but it is kind of a false advertisement here. Now, when it comes to browsing, the phone's fast processor, lots of RAM, everything just plays together wonderfully as well. You will not notice any slowdown. Your internet speeds are gonna be good. The Wi-Fi is really nice. You support 5 GHz Wi-Fi as well, and as you can see, everything's snappy. Pinch to zoom, etc. Everything works really nice. So this phone performs excellently when it comes to this. So this is where I'm going to start also complaining about the various weaknesses of the phone while emphasizing also on the strengths. First, I'm going to benchmark it against the Note 3 and the Note 4, and these are two pretty fast phones, especially in Note 4. And you can see that in the initial benchmark here, the Note 3 was just about 10,000 points ahead of the actual Umi Rome, while the Note 4 was obviously about twice as fast. But we all know that the Note 4 on its own and the most modern phones that we see nowadays are excessively fast, and there's nothing that can really utilize them. Now, as we can see, the second result is even better for the Rome. We have less than 10,000 points different between the Note 3 and the Umi Rome, and so far I haven't found anything that my Note 3 couldn't handle. And also, I've been using the Umi Rome for about a month and a half now, and I haven't found anything that it couldn't handle either. But I will address the various weaknesses of the phone now as we go while I'm doing the gaming tests, because it's pretty obvious that the phone is going to be handling any kind of game you throw at it with this kind of score. Now, first, we don't have a notification LED, but as you can see here, if it's really dark and you go really close to the phone at a specific angle, you will see that there's a notification LED. Now, it's telling me that my battery is almost out of juice, but that is weird. It would seem to me that they actually decided to place one inside, and they checked it out and they thought to themselves that this sucks, that you can't see it, it's too weak. It really doesn't give you the information you need. You can't see it from afar. You absolutely cannot see it during the day. You can pretty much claim that there's no LED like they did, and I haven't found a video or anyone anywhere except me right now having found this, that there actually is a LED in there. So it is so minuscule and so weak that people will not actually notice the LED and its existence. Now, another thing that I want to notice, since we're at the gaming part, the processor, the upper part of the phone, which would here be on my left because I'm holding it in landscape mode, gets really hot when you play with it. When you play with when you're playing games on it. So this really sucks. Now, it's still cold outside, it's still winter, so this is acceptable. I don't play on my phone. These games I've installed really just to demonstrate it. But there are people who really like to play games, and there are people who really want to do so. And I can imagine that in summer your hand is gonna sweat, it's gonna be really warm, and this phone is gonna heat on the upper part, and it heats significantly. It heats up more, for example, than the Note 4 or Note 3. I know it's an unfair comparison. I mean, these are 5 times more expensive than this phone, but still. Okay, 5 times is exaggerated. At this point, it's like 3 to 4 times more expensive. But as I've said, still. So that's something that I definitely found to be a problem here. So I want to quickly address some other gripes I have with the phone. It looks like we have 2 speakers here, but this here is not a speaker. It's just holes. They shouldn't have drilled those holes. Dirt can get inside. It's not so good. They want to create an impression there are 2 speakers down there. It's just one anyway. Now, if I open the back of the phone, you're going to notice several things. One, I forgot to mention that it's a dual SIM phone, which I'm doing now. And 2, the micro SD card is sitting there very neatly in its own slot, but there's a special groove for it where it falls in. And if you want to pull it out, you cannot do it with your fingers. I had to actually take a needle, lift it up out of the groove, and then slide it up on top of the needle. This seems unnecessary to me. You won't be pulling out your micro SD card very often, but if you have to, it sucks. You can't do it with your fingers. Now, another thing I want to mention is that if you don't restart the phone every 2 to 3 days, which I strongly recommend, you should do this. You should do it with computers as well. Restart your stuff. But if you don't do it, what this phone's gonna do is it's going to have the touchscreen act weirdly. You press a letter below it will be selected instead of that. So that will be the moment when you're like, oh, I gotta restart the phone. And once you do it, everything's fine again. But it's strange that it happens. It's a bug, I guess. And I had a terrible bug in the first firmware that the phone came in with. If I turn off the display, what would happen is once I turned it back on, it would just remain black. You would get haptic feedback, but you couldn't see what you were doing. You had to pull out the battery. Thankfully, this was fixed in the new firmware. It's really easy to upgrade your firmware. Just download the SP tool, SP Flash tool. Go to YouTube, check out the tutorial. It really is super short and easy. It takes about 5 minutes to do it after you've downloaded everything. Child's play. Do it, you won't regret it. So after all this negative talk that I gave you here about the phone, do I recommend it or not? Well, you'll be surprised, but I do recommend it. it's actually a really good phone. It's really fast, it's beautiful. It does have its flaws, but they're mostly minor at this point. It's nothing that you can't handle. And it costs a sixth of the price of most Samsung iPhones and other expensive phones you see on the market, while it can actually compete with them. Yes, they're much faster, but they don't need to be this fast. There's almost nothing you will do on your phone that will require that much speed. And at a price that is so low, you can easily afford to buy a new one next year. This phone costs less than repairing the display of these other phones. And while the display of this phone is not what it claims to be and it has no Gorilla Glass, even if you were to break it, that's fine. You can buy a new one. It's not that expensive, really. So especially if you want to choose a cheap phone and you wonder which one, this is an excellent choice. I'm definitely gonna keep it, and I recommend you buy it too because it is a good phone. Oh no. Full day of battery, by the way. Full day of battery. It wasn't like that at first, but now, especially with the new firmware, it is. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, microphone. Really good microphone. Wanted to mention that as well at the end here. So if you're interested in buying it, I will leave you Amazon links at the bottom of, in the description here of the video. I would like to thank you for watching my video, and I hope to see you on the next one.